LET by my PC, and today I'm making another tutorial for you guys. This tutorial is going to be an extension / bonus tutorial to my previous tutorial. In my previous tutorial I talked about how to make a chatbot, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to make the chatbot speak in sort of counter speech like our brother does. So if I say League's a terrible game, he'll say you're a terrible game, and so on and so on. So to start off I'm going to sort of illustrate what we're going to do. Fluffy is gray. Fluffy being this lovely lady back here. If I say Fluffy is gray, the program will find the verb and then it'll conjugate it. So if it says Fluffy is gray, it will put down you're gray. So the verb gets conjugated. Whatever's before the verb gets changed into you, and then whatever comes afterwards is just placed down as is. So that's how the system works. It grabs the verb, conjugates it, takes away whatever is before it, and replaces it with you, and then whatever's after it just places it down as is. So I'll go ahead and grab the program and show you how this works. Okay, so if I say Misty is black, he'll say you're black. If I say Fluffy is gray, he'll say you're gray. If I say Liam Neeson is in the movie The Gray, he'll say you're in the movie The Gray. There you go. And that all just revolves on grabbing the verb, conjugating the verb, whatever's before the verb changes to you, and then whatever's after the verb gets pasted on there as is. So in my previous tutorial, it was at least half an hour long, probably closer to an hour, and I felt like that was a little bit on the longer side, and especially for long tutorials like that, I feel like it's important that I have an organization to it, a backbone to it that you can understand it as you follow it rather than taking it as it comes. I did that in my Space Bears tutorial and it seemed to work well. So I'm going to show you guys some steps to what we're going to do today. So step 1. We're going to create a verb array. An array is spelled with 2 R's. Like that. Alright. This will give us a list of verbs that we can grab. These are the verbs we'll check for in the sentence to see whether we can counter it or not. So this is rather important. The more verbs you have, the more accurate the program will be. So let's move on to step 2. We're going to set up the counter method. Alright, so that's annoying me. There we go. We're going to set up the counter method. So this method will find out whether or not we can counter the statement by checking if there's one of these verbs in there. And if one of the verbs is in there, it'll return which verb. And then step 3, we will print the reaction using the verb we got from the counter method and manipulating the sentence as I explained earlier. Alright, so now we got all that taken care of. I can put my text pad aside and we can move on. So here we go. I'm started directly where we ended in the last tutorial. First step is the verb array. So we're going to go and take care of that. So this is going to work similar to the chatbot array. It's going to contain both the responses and the possible triggers, I guess. So it's going to be a double-dimensional array, I'm going to call it verbs. And this is how it's going to be set up. There's only going to be 2 words in every single array in the dimension, and the first argument in the array is going to be the possible thing you can input, and then the second thing is going to know what's going to be conjugated to. So Misty is black, you're black. So that's how it's conjugated. And then let's see. The more you have, then the more accurate it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few down. some of them are going to be the same, like these ones, but some of them are going to be different, like this. Like is has a lot of different variations, so there's going to be a lot of ones that are going to end up with conjugated to the RE, but a lot of them aren't. And we also got to take into account that if the S is conjugated, so or not, I don't know about conjugated, but if you say like that's good, that will show up as a S. And it'll be conjugated to RE as well. So there we go. One thing I figure I know is with the RE, it will put on U, no space, and give the RE. So whether there's space or not depends on how we conjugate it. So if we want there to be space, we need to add it manually. So that's why I would think I had to add a space there. Okay. So right now we have it set up for 4 verbs. In my actual program, I have like 30 verbs. So that's just something that you just try talking to him, and then if you find a new verb, you just go and add it, and it's pretty easy to add them, just like this. Alright, so moving right along. That was the end of step 1. Now move on to step 2. We're going to create the counter method, but before we do that, let me just set it up real quick. So right now the process for our when we press enter is first we grab the quote, then we check for matches, then we go to default. If we, after we check for matches, if we don't find anything, we're going to try the counter. Alright, so first off, we only want to try if response is still equal to 1. Response equals 1. Because if response is 1, that means that we didn't find anything in the chatbot. Or we didn't find anything yet. Let's do that. So we only want to try the counter if it didn't trigger this yet. All right. So the way our counter method is going to work is we're going to give it every single word in our quote. We're going to turn into an array of words rather than one big string, and then it's going to look through all those words and check each one of those in the verb array. So we're going to split up our quote into a bunch of words. So string quote words. This can be an array. So this is going to be the quote represented in an array of words, and then it will be equal to quote.split. I find split to be a very handy function in or method in Java. And what it'll do is you put a regex, regular expressions statement in as an argument, and it will split up the string based on that. So right here I put a space. So then it'll split the sentence into an array, and it'll decide the different array indexes based on spaces, so it'll cut it out of spaces. But I actually want to do something a little bit different than just spaces, because if I put down that's a good thing, then I want it to register S as an individual verb. So I also want to go for both spaces and what are those called again? Apostrophe. I'm gonna call it an apostrophe. I'm not sure. Single quotations, I guess. So I want to go for either single quotations or space. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a regex, regular expressions rule, which is put square brackets around it. Square brackets will say either space or that. Either of those will work. So that's what we're going to check for. Alright, and then we're going to say int c. This is going to represent which verb we're using. So if it comes out to be 0, then it's this verb. If it comes out to be 1, it's this verb, and so on and so on. And it can go as high as many amount of verbs you have. Alright, and then that is going to be equal to our counter method that we're going to make. And as an argument, we're going to put in the quote words that we just made. So this will be a group of words and it'll check every single verb against our verb array. Okay, so public int counter, and it takes a string array as an argument. Now we're going to create a new variable that would represent the verb ID that we find, int verb ID, and at first I'm set it equal to -1. -1 means we haven't found it yet. So if we go through our whole process, it's still -1. That means that none of the verbs match, or none of our words match the verb. Okay. So now I'm going to create a for loop for int I equals 0, I is less than str.length, and I plus plus. This will start I at 0, and for each I we'll check a different index in the string array, and it'll keep going through the loop and increasing I by 1 every time until it reaches the end of the string array, meaning we've checked all the words. Okay, so for every word you want to go through another for loop, checking all the verbs against that word. So we'll call it in j this time, and the condition is j is less than verbs dot length and j plus plus. There. So now we want to check if the word we're currently checking, which would be stri, is equal to the verb we're currently checking, which would be verbs j0. J being which array we're checking, and 0 being the first thing in that array because that's the one that we're checking against. The second thing in the array is the thing we'll change it to. So we'll be dealing with that later. Okay, so if it equals that, and I just realized my syntax really horrible there. Okay, if it equals that, we want verb ID to be equal to j, because j is the number that we have, is an index that we just checked. And then at the end, we return j. Keep in mind that this starts at the first word and goes on to the last, so if we're dealing with a sentence with two verbs that would match, it'll work with the last one. So if I say, I think you're bad at league, it'll respond, you're bad at league. It'll be using the verb re as opposed to the think variable. So that's nice because it sort of achieves that on its own, but that's something I think that you should notice. Okay, so now we've got that set up. Step 2 is done, and now let's go on step 3, print everything out. So if c does not equal -1, because if it turned out to be -1, that means it didn't find any verbs in it, and if it didn't find any verbs in it, then we want to move on to the default. If c does not equal -1, then I'm going to create a new variable called string ext. This will be the extension that comes up after the verb. We're going to split up our quote at the verb and grab the section that comes after the verb. So quote dot split. We split it at the verb that we just found, so that'll be verbs, c being the index, and then 0. So that'll give us an array right here, and we want the second index in the array. First index is the part that comes before the verb, second is what comes after the verb. Alright, so that would be 1. Okay? Okay, so now we go ahead and print everything out. So add text. To start out with, go with the standard Michael thing. Only put 2 marks. Michael, and I need to put a backward slash n in the beginning to move the next line, and then backward slash t to tab, and then u. And then we'll add in our verb. So verbs, c, 1. Notice I did 1 this time as opposed to 0 because 1 is the conjugated version, and then at the end we'll add in our ext that we just found. Alright. And then before I forget, let's add set response equal to 2. This meaning that we will no longer run to the default. I believe that's everything. Let me just check through my notes real quick. Yep, I believe that's everything. So I'll go into command prompt. I'll clear it out real quick, and then I'll compile it. Chatbot.java. How many errors do you think I got? Let's see. 12 errors. When I was designing this tutorial, I had 59 errors, and all I had to do was add a comma in one place, and it worked. So let's see. Okay. Oh, I see. It thinks that this is a method because I didn't put an equal sign here, so it's a little bit confused. So the equal sign is what I missed this time. only one error. Return J. Down here, I said return J. It doesn't work because J was created inside this method, meaning that it only exists in that method. And since this is outside the method, it's an error. That's why I created verb ID, which is why I should have put down verb ID here. Silly of me. Okay? Now, it should work now. There we go. And let's run it. Java chatbot. Fluffy is gray. You're gray. Awesome. So, just for the fun of it, let's try and compare it to the actual video I took in the intro to the last video. So let me just pull it up real quick.
Hello YouTube, I'm APC, and today I'm making another tutorial for you guys.
There you go. That's
in today's tutorial, I'm going to make a tutorial about how to make a chatbot in Java. And the reason I made this is because I told my brother I could predict how he would respond in an argument. So let me just give you an example right now.
All right, let's take a look.
Hello, Michael. Yes. You know, League
Probably could have added yes as one of the standard reactions to saying hello. That's easy enough.
is a terrible game.
You're a terrible game.
Did you know League is a terrible game? Let's see. Did you know League is a terrible game? You're a terrible game. It worked. See? It worked. Now let's move on.
No, I really think League's a terrible game, Michael.
You're a terrible game.
No, I really think League is a terrible game. I said Michael at the end, but that'll mess it up, I think. You're a terrible game. See? It still works.
And you're terrible at video games.
Why?
I'd hoped that he would have responded saying you're terrible at video games, but it didn't quite work. He was offended.
Because you play League.
Okay. Well, I'll be in any single video game.
Well, I think you're lucky to have that big screen as well.
You're lucky to have the big screen.
Alright, I think you're lucky to have that big screen. You think you're lucky to have that big screen? It didn't catch that RE right there. I bet you I forgot to put that in as a verb. And I sure did. So let's go ahead and add that in for future reference. That's how my list got so big and moved up to 30. I just found new verbs every now and then. And then it just slowly got bigger. So next time I run it, that one will work.
Well, I paid for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. By the way, do you know that your argumentative skills are so predictable I can make a program out of it?
You did.
I did? Oh yeah, that's right.
You did? Yep, I did. And now I did again. So thank you guys for watching. That's all for this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful and entertaining and useful and I hope you understood what all the concepts rather than just copy the code. So in the description I have this code here. So like I just said, please try to watch the tutorial, understand everything that's happening before you look at the code, rather than go straight to the code. But if you have any errors, you can go ahead and check against my code in the description. And in the description will also be a link to my most up-to-date version of this, of the most up-to-date version of the program I originally made. So that will have like a lot of these verbs in there to make it extremely accurate. And I have some stuff in some more of these standard greetings. And I've also changed up the engine, or not the engine. This isn't a game. I've also changed up some of the script a little bit to make it a little more interesting. Like whenever I say something to him, like if I say, I don't have the program up anymore, but if I say hi, there's like a 1 in 20 chance he'll just say one of the default things to make it to be less predictable what he'll say, and then I got a few which there's no chance of him saying the default things, and then I've got it so it's organized differently when questions are asked, because questions are worded a little differently, and it's just really hard to make a perfect program because grammar and language is so complicated, and it's there's so many exceptions to everything. So for that reason, I'm giving a link in the description if you're interested in seeing the changes that I've made in the future. And yeah, but that's all for this tutorial. I hope you. I already said it, didn't I? Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Please rate, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.